Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about the Uninvited, Graydon Clark's 88 sci-fi horror mashup about a virus-infected house cat that wreaks havoc amidst criminals and randy teens on board a luxury yacht. Think a cross between Ghoulies and The Love Boat. Right. Are we starting? Okay. Hello.
So, you forced me into watching The Uninvited, made in 1988 by Graydon Clark.
So, we are familiar with this work before because we watched Without Warning.
Which I remember seeing as a kid. And I ended up watching it. I remember watching the beginning was about 10. It's quite good.
Yeah, we quite... Well, I think when we watched it recently, we quite enjoyed it. I don't know what year was... Do you know what year that was?
I think it's 79, 80, something like that.
Okay, so that was earlier. Okay, so we enjoyed that. Where do we start? Well, what we start with is some kind of genetic lab, is it? Some kind of...
It looks like a vet's.
Yeah,
a vet's in a car park.
And there's two doctors that are examining some kind of X-ray. They don't understand what they're seeing, so the only option they've got is to slice that cat in half.
I tell you what, I like the beginning bit because it had the titles. Then it cut to that, and you think, oh, the titles are done. Went back to titles again.
Yeah, carried on with the titles.
Yeah.
So the story carried on running. So they've never seen anything like it, so let's cut it open. So they attempt to inject the cat.
I'm not taking any animals to there, if that's generally what's that.
I mean,
cut it open.
It's pretty rough treatment, to be honest. The cat gets away pretty easily.
Yeah, but this is a bit of my notes that made me laugh straight away was, get the cat, get in.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, but they didn't move, they just both stood there and go, get the cat, get in.
Well, instantly it caused a red alert. He shouted there was a red alert and they locked the building down.
Yeah, radiation. What's it, radiation?
Yeah, a radiation alert.
They'd all got radiation suits, although they're really cheap ones that look like a ski mask.
Yeah, the eyes didn't seem to line up with any part of the face.
And there was one bit where I thought the cat was going to mesmerise. You know the one that had the two holes like a ski mask one that looked like just...
Yeah.
Cut it out. He was looking at the cat and the cat was looking back and I thought, oh, it's going to take over him. And then, did the titles come in or something happened? And the next thing you know, he was dead.
Yeah, what happened was they chased the cat into a stairwell, and I think there was three guys in suits, but there was the main guy that was in a kind of silver suit. And it's at that point that we get our first opportunities to see the FX of the big fat cat face with the... How would you...
I think you should call it SFX, because they were special.
Yeah, very special. How would you describe the cat's inner cat?
It was a bit like Froggle Rock.
It was like a kind of sweaty grey cat rat. It looks almost...
It looked like it was throwing up something out of its bum face. But the point is, the cat thing that was coming out of its gob was alright because it was a bit of a mess and you couldn't really... Although later on it's not alright.
Well, they
but
don't
the
try
thing
and
it's coming
hide
out of looked like...
It looked like it had been done by the Hensons, but not Jim, one of his cousins, Bob Henson, or somebody else.
Well, no, not related at all.
Yeah, it was, but I loved it. It's really good. And then there was, bearing in mind, this is all, impressively, this was all still within the first 5 minutes all this had happened. What they had was, they just had splashes of blood up the walls.
Yes, I did
and
say
up the
it
side.
like...
Yeah.
I've said it looked like it'd been painted. That was it, yeah, because they cut away. I thought it'd been like transfixed by the cat. Next thing you know, someone's tripped over and put paint all up the wall.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then the cat's chased into I assume the car park under the building, and the main doctor guy...
this is the only bit I rewound, this bit, because it was funny.
You couldn't believe it.
Where he's going, here kitty kitty, at one point. And the music, I will go on about that in a minute because it's fucking terrible.
Well, no, actually, because of how old we are, I always have the subtitles on now as well. And all it kept saying is suspenseful music. Well, throughout the film, it just said suspenseful music. No. I have to disagree.
Well, no, it won't. But, so he's going here kitty kitty and all that shit. And then he's going past the car And I'm sure he was looking in the direction of where the cat was coming. I can't remember. But then, obviously, someone's just gone like that and put their hand for the puppet just on his face.
Yeah, there was somebody with a glove on, wasn't there?
I had to watch it twice to... because it
fully
didn't like he jumped
appreciate
out.
it.
Yeah, it didn't look like he... Well, he kind of slowly jumped out on it.
I think that's pretty much it. Then the cat escapes, doesn't it? For the moment, because we shift to the spring breakers, don't we? Initially, the girls are trying to. I think they're out of money. They're trying to scrounge a free meal, so they go into a hotel, a swanky restaurant, hotel, and that's when we first meet Walter, Wall Street Walter, who's the kind of the crook of the story. Although we watched it, and he talks a lot about pulling off a deal constantly throughout the film, but we still couldn't work out what the deal was.
He seems to unnecessarily drown someone. Are we getting to that bit yet?
Well, that's when his other henchmen turn up and they go off and do this deal.
Yeah,
so Walter,
that's when you see George Kennedy,
who's the best thing about the film.
He must have done this between Naked Gun and Airplane and all that, because I was thinking 88.
He's in Dallas. Well, he was in Dallas quite a bit as well, I think, wasn't he? I'm sure he was in Dallas. Yeah.
And what about the blonde-haired?
The big guy, yeah. He always plays the same kind of role, doesn't he? Yeah. So anyway, Walter, I think with these girls, he's only got one thing on his mind with them, but he gives them a free meal. But then the two henchmen, George Kennedy, and I do not know. All I know is his name's George. That's it. I don't know what his name is in
the other guy.
Well, the other one, Albert, with the hat on.
I've seen him in films as well, but I can't remember.
I think he was in Return of the Living Dead.
He was?
Yeah.
He was a really good actor in the beginning of that, because he was explaining to the store boy before the titles in Return of the Living Dead, the story of Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
That's who he was.
He's a bit weird in this film, because I can't work out whether he's meant to be like the comedy role.
I think so. Well, he's got false teeth and some glasses on.
But initially, he's drowning somebody in a hot tub, which we'll get to in a minute. Well, they go and meet up with this guy, Daryl Perkins, on Walter's boat to pull off the deal that's a bit vague.
Okay, this is a bit I zoned out, except for the swimming pool.
Yeah, so they talk to Daryl, and Daryl seems a bit nervous, like maybe he's going to back out of the deal, or he's going to, I don't know, go to the police or something. So they decide to put him in the hot tub on the yacht.
It just looks like a mini pool for kids.
Well, he actually virtually dives in.
But this is on the boat, so this is a bit that confused me. They're surrounded by water, and they find the smallest little bit of water to drown him in. I mean, it would have been easier just to throw him overboard.
It was maybe. Well, I think the thing is, if you drown him in that, then you can take the body and put it wherever you want. But if you throw him in the sea, look, I'm trying to explain it.
So you're going to see salt water in his. But what did they do with his body after that? Did they chuck him in the water anyway?
I mean, they did dispose of quite a lot of bodies over the side in this film. When they're out on the ocean.
Well, I put it. I said they drown him in the paddling pool. They're on a fucking boat. That's what I wrote.
Right, okay. So they're doing it. So Walters and these two crooks, Albert and George Kennedy, drown this guy. And then we cut back to the spring break girls who meet up with two spring break guys who were, again, breaking.
Is this before or after the truck bit?
Well, yeah.
This is another great bit.
Yeah, I've skipped ahead. So this whole scene potentially could have not been in the film, really.
Yeah, but this is they either spent the most money on this bit or they nicked it from another film.
So the cat's on his travels. He befriends some guy who gives the cat some milk.
Is it a gas stop or something?
Something like that. And the guy obviously makes friends with the cat. The cat likes the guy. Then another guy turns up and kind of beats the guy up and mugs him and takes his money.
It's like saying, how much money have you got? First he goes up to him and says, you got any change for something? And he's about to give him the change, and he goes, give me all of it or whatever. And he just nicks a bit more change off him.
Well, look, we don't know what situation these guys are in.
The other bloke goes, did you get the money? Yeah.
Well, they're happy with themselves, aren't they?
The cat's not, because he jumps in the back.
The
cat jumps in the back of this red.
The cat's quite cross. It's like a pickup truck.
Sure.
Yeah. So he jumps onto the back of the truck as these two guys escape, and
laughing about their few dollars in nicked.
Their $11.04 they stole, and then the cat jumps through the back of the cab window and throttles them both.
When he comes through, you can see a bit of a bloke's arm when he's coming through. But so you go, all right, and he's getting bit, and you go, oh, God, all right, that's fine. Suddenly the truck, the best stunt ever, and the film grain changes slightly. I'm thinking, you've destroyed the entire truck.
So the film is suggesting the cat has attacked them and caused them to drive off a bridge and crash the car, but you're saying the clip of the car crashing because it would be quite an expensive stunt.
And it's a slightly different car.
And slightly different quality of film. You're suggesting that it's taken from another film.
Well, there's two choices. Either spunked all the money up on that one stunt, or it's nicked from some other film. Could have been one of his films.
Well, I suppose he's allowed to borrow it then if it's from one of his
I don't know.
Pieces of work. One of his other pieces of work.
Piece of work.
So I've skipped ahead a little bit. So then we go back and we meet the Spring Breakers, woohoo, boys.
They're still in bikinis. I think they're still in the same ones, but
no, these are the boys. The boys.
They're in bikinis.
Oh,
yes,
and then then the girls turn up, and they meet.
They're in bikinis.
And then Hedgeworth, the biologist, turns up.
Bikini.
And the girls invite the boys for a trip round the Caribbean on Walter's yacht. And obviously Walter at this point doesn't know anything about that, but they just, I think, are thinking they're going to have a party.
One bit of dialogue I wrote down. To tempt the guys, they say, why don't you come along? To protect us against this weird bloke that we're going with. I mean, again, I'd go, don't go, but whatever. She goes, have you been swimming in the Raw?
That's what she said?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, well, it's not a term I've ever heard before called in the Raw, because it just sounds a bit painful.
Yeah, I've never heard that. Okay. Right, okay, so I think at this point, we go, where do we go to now? I think it goes back to Walter talking to George Kennedy. And I think Walter at this point is telling George, I've invited these girls onto the boat. And George Kennedy says, broads are a pain in the ass, was the line he said.
And he goes, you're young. This is the only bit that was meant to be, well, was quite good actually. He goes, young broads are a pain in the ass. And then it about 10 seconds goes while they're walking up the gangplank.
Yeah, he says broads.
He just goes, actually, old broads too.
and that in terms of the dialogue, that was the highlight.
Bit,
so
yeah. Quite witty.
Right. Then this is the bit I didn't quite understand, although I shouldn't question the film too much.
Are you on about the half an hour dancing?
Well, no. The bit, not that we'll dwell on every single scene, but the four Spring Breakers, with the biologist, are they're making their way to the Walt's yacht, and they hear a meowing, and this is where they meet the cat. The cat's in a box, a bin. Is that something?
I don't know. Again, maybe I think I may have looked away at that point because I was thinking. I know they said, oh, it's good luck or something, so they decided to take the cat
That's
on.
when they're trying to convince Walter that they should keep the cat on board and the boys.
But generally, they're going to go on the boat, all these Spring Breakers, and then they go, there's a cat here, we'll have that.
So by this point, I mean, there's a few bits of conversation, but generally, we have now got every kind of significant person on the boat.
On the
so this is now. George Kennedy, I can't remember his name, Albert, Walt, 3 boys, 2 girls, and I think with them we're introduced to the captain of the boat as well, which is
she's probably the worst actor out of everyone. I thought. She
yeah,
just seems to have no emotion during any of it.
Well, yeah, even when he's kind of insulting her, she's kind of emotionless.
I mean, later on, the biologist, spoilers, they sort of get on, all right.
Yeah, they hook up, don't they?
But she's not impressed, is she?
What I was saying was the screen sizzled with chemistry between them.
Well, literally, it was chemistry sulfate or something
like a tedious experiment.
Yeah.
So we're on the boat then. So Walter makes it very clear who's in charge, and the boys and the girls are set to work cleaning the toilets, all that kind of thing. And that's how they'll earn their passage on the boat so that they can then partay. And it's at that point that they put some, and I put 80s funk disco music
Bad Dancing.
Obviously, they made the music themselves. I've written down some of the lyrics.
I briefly googled
Is there an actual
it.
song? Was it?
No, well, I can't remember the lyrics.
I think they made it for the thing, because if you listen, it's repeated.
Yeah,
and repeated and repeated.
But it's a great. I mean, one thing I'll have to say is that it's 80s through and through. This film, isn't it? I mean, it is.
Well, it's late 80s.
I know, but yeah, it's.
I didn't think, in terms of the clothing and that, I didn't think it was too dated. I didn't even. Well, maybe the dancing bit, but half of it, I didn't feel it was that dated in comparison to some of the films that we've seen from the 90s.
I think, yeah. I felt it was of its time.
Right. Well, anyway, so the lyric. So generally it goes, no, 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 no. One more try before many down the line. Moving down the line. There you go. One more try before moving down the line.
Well, that and
yeah, but
isn't
that's
that
repeated? That's the whole of the lyrics. From
isn't
the entire
that
song.
so true though?
Yeah. It is, and then but the point is that goes on for a very long time.
Yeah,
the two women obviously are doing it great.
One thing I'll admit is the film doesn't really slow down at any point. Getting up to this point, it's quite entertaining. Some of the bits where they're on the boat and it kind of starts to drag slightly. The kids are falling around on the boat anyway, aren't they? At that point, we get a brief interlude where the cat sabotages the boat and. I think it scratch some wiring and causes the boat.
I got confused whether it was your mate from Return of the Living Dead that caused it as well, because he was, for some reason, he was just knobbing about, and the captain told him off and goes, "Look after this, don't touch anything." And he just does something just as the cat, with its tiny little puppet paw, scrapes.
Well, I just
something.
think he'd been left to try and steer the boat, and he was just terrible at it.
Yeah.
I think that's
pissed.
he seems constantly a bit drunk.
Music, I'm going to go quickly back to that. So, it's going no, one more time. And then when it goes on to the top deck where they're sunbathing, and this is the only one that's actually you can hear, out on the ocean. And that's it.
It's quite relevant.
Yeah, it's very relevant.
That. That's nice.
It fits nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It does. The one bit that did make me slightly laugh, although I didn't write the full thing. All the kids, all the spring breakers, are sat around listening to Walt regale them with a story, and at the end the story wasn't great at all, but at the end they all kind of great story.
Well,
Walt.
I didn't know whether one was being sarcastic.
Do you think that's within there?
Well, he sounded sarcastic. I mean, that was just bored. Well, I think he was just bored. So it's just great story, Walt. I think the story was something about I offered them $1 million to forget it, and they didn't.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. That was it. It was a funny story about Walt making money. Then I've written more 80s music, Bad Dancing. And then whilst they're partying, we go out onto deck. Albert's drunk because I think the captain tells Albert off because he's steering the boat whilst he's drunk. So she sends him out, and he goes out onto the deck, and that's when he encounters the cat, and Does he throw a bottle? Does he throw his wine bottle?
Well, no, he breaks his wine bottle, and it's now he's got a weapon, so he's got like the shards of the wine bottle ready. So, but then he just keeps going back to the cat, and the cat's generally just waving at him, coming out of his mouth. Have we explained how this thing comes out?
Yeah, well, I mean, I said it's the inner cat, but yeah,
it comes out of a big orangey face because it's a ginger cat. But when it comes out of its mouth.
Yeah, so it opens its mouth.
But its mouth suddenly turns into the biggest, spongiest, comical. It looks like a cartoon.
Yeah, it's like a big basketball head.
I could say zippy, but not a lot of people are going to.
Well,
it looks like it's coming out of a rugby ball painted orange and white with eyes on it.
I mean, they must have, when they were doing this, they must have stood back and gave themselves a pat on the back for it, but I liked it anyway. Anyway, I noticed Albert, when he was drunk and because he was shouting at the cat, he was abusing the cat, and he shouted, you want some of this, sweet little pussy?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Right, so it scratches the shit out of him, and then we cut back to more dancing, and then this is one of the proper deaths where we watch him, his veins bulging, and his neck.
Because he gets scratched, doesn't he? And like he starts doing a bit of the scanners with all his veins and that. And the acting's brilliant, obviously.
Well, they have been told to really go for it. I think every single actor. I mean,
When
especially
they get-
George's. Later on, he's brilliant.
I'm gonna
Spoiler, because George dies.
I'm gonna kick off about that because I was very disappointed.
Right. Well, we're going to disagree on that. When they're scratched and they become infected, the victim parts of their body tends to bulge and then kind of split, and then a bit of ooze comes out.
It's not really
all
explained until later on.
No, but I mean, I suppose it doesn't need explaining, to be honest, does it? The cat's crazy and it keeps killing people, but it starts pulsing and throbbing, then splitting. But then he messed with the cat, didn't he? He dies very well. I think later on, Walt and George discover.
He goes overboard, doesn't he?
Yeah, he goes overboard quite right. They discover.
No, into the word.
They discover a blood trail leading overboard, so they know. Obviously, they're on their way to this mysterious deal.
This is where I'm on about the acting of the captain again. The lady captain is not. She just goes, "Oh, it's gone overboard," and I'm thinking, "Well, you not." Because she's not bothered at all.
Yeah.
She just goes, "Oh, you're overboard." To be honest, then when she tells the rest, they sort of go, "Oh, blimey, that's bad," but she just goes, "Yeah."
Yeah, well, they're not.
She just wanted, but then she goes, "All right, I'm going to have to stop the boat," and then it gets a bit like Jaws. I thought, obviously not the same caliber, because he stops, doesn't he? He stops them radioing. Oh, I've had your tether there.
Well, they keep trying to radio.
Oh, it might have been later on then.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because he says to her, "If you stop the boat on the Caymans, I won't give you."
There's this bit of there's this bit of a secondary story where Walt's taken the boat off her dad, and that's why she wants to stay with the boat, I think. And he promised to give her the boat back if she doesn't go back to, because he wants to get to this mysterious deal. Listen, that bit of the story I'm not too fussed about. I just wanted to get back to the cat bits, but there's more. Oh yeah, I've put, because again I had subtitles on. It just said more suspenseful music because it had that jangly music because it shows the cat wandering around a bit. Then Hedgeworth uses the sextant.
Yeah, I wrote this down. And it's a bit annoying to the captain. He goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm a biologist," and then makes her a lab assistant. He goes, "Have you got a sextant?" Which is like
it's the navigation tool.
Nautical navigation tool. And he goes, "Oh, have you got a magnifying glass?" And
yeah, she's kind
of. He
of.
goes, "Have you got some water or liquid?" I go, "I've been going, oh, for fuck's sake, get yourself a cheeky twat."
Just give me a list.
Yeah.
Just get on with it.
Absolutely.
So he wants to examine Albert's blood, and then he discovers that it's been infected with something. I think. Oh, and then we shift to, this is probably one of the big action scenes, if you can call it this. So they've looked at this infected blood. Then it shifts to Walt trying his luck with one of the girls who's doing an exercise.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit did hold my attention, to be quite honest.
Anyway, he tries his luck with her.
She's in a bikini again.
Yes, and
doing exercises.
She's not too impressed with his advances, and then
it's a little bit rapey.
Well, yeah, it doesn't feel quite right,
no.
And then
but during that whole scene, there's no. I don't know if there's any music. Maybe there was. But you hear the cat, even though you don't see it.
Yeah,
you just keep hearing meow, meow.
I wrote in brackets, cat's making a lot of noise.
Even though we can't see it. Because they're like talking to each other, and every now and then you hear meow, meow.
At that point, when the jock turns up to save her, the cat, it just shows the cat kind of watching. It's not really doing much, so you eventually see the cat.
Maybe it's just getting annoyed, going meow.
Yeah, it's none too pleased. The jock and Walt have a fight, and then George turns up and shoots him in the arm.
Yeah, there's not much mucking about there, is there?
I have to say though, George's contempt for all these spring breakers, it was only a matter of time before he snapped.
Shoots him in the arm, but obviously Cat don't like that shit.
So George shoots him in the arm.
Oh, he does something else. He does a kick, doesn't he? Doesn't he kick someone?
He's acting in the fight. The whole scene, actually, he's acting in the fight when he kind of pretends to kick that guy.
He misses. He doesn't even. He's not even connecting.
I'm wondering
about a metre away.
I don't know. I mean, he spent his life kind of playing like a hoods and bullies and all that kind of thing.
I'm not sure he was great in the fighting. But he does a punch, which is a bit away from the guy's stomach, and then he does a kick that's like in midair, somewhere near. It's in the same room as the bloke that he's trying to kick, but it's not quite connected, except with the air that's in the room.
The other dude, younger dude, turns up then and attacks George, and George unconvincingly punches him. I just put this whole fight scene is bad. So
I've just put ace.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I say it was bad as in
the kick from George
good.
Gordy on bloke ace.
Yeah. Then this is my probably favourite bit in the whole film was then when George is attacked on the ankle by the cat thing.
That kind of comes out of nowhere, that kind of bit does, really.
Well, does he reach out from underneath a chair or something and scratches the back of his ankle?
I think it's in the trailer, because I watched the trailer beforehand, which pretty much saves you watching a lot of the film, and I think it has a bit of that.
Yeah, I think unless you've suffered an hour and a half of this, you can't truly appreciate it. When George is attacked by the cat on the back of his ankle, I think he's meant to be falling down, but he kind of just lowers himself onto the ground.
Well, you see his face for a long time doing all kinds of stuff and wobbling around.
His ankle's spurting a bit of blood. It's quite
graphic.
Yeah, I thought that bit there was quite a bit of gore and goo in it.
That was probably the most. That and the explosion you see later on, the aftermath of the bloke shooting the pipe.
Well, I've got a bit of a problem because I think there should have been more. When things bulged and split, something should have burst and popped.
This is where I'm disappointed at this bit.
Anyway, so George is injured and he shoots about 4 or 5, but the cat keeps hiding behind bottles.
There's a bit where he looks like he's putting his hands up as well.
Yeah, the little cat rat thing looks like he's putting his hands up. It's hiding behind bottles, so basically the bottles can be shot and explode. So George is flying around all over the place. So there's 2 men down. Well, that's it. I think that scene ends then. And again, Walt convinces everybody that they're still not going to go back to the coast. They want to carry on.
And that's a bit that's like George, because he shoots the radio as she's trying to do Mayday.
So the girls manage to get the gun off him, but before they can, he shoots the radio equipment to stop them radioing back to the coast. George. So they manage to get the gun off him by firing a fire extinguisher at him, and it makes him drop the gun.
Yeah, I do get that.
So they lock Walt up, so he's out of the film for a bit. However, George, with his bad ankle, is laid up, and he's getting progressively sweatier, shinier. His acting is becoming...
Yeah, they're kind of having a conversation around it. There's one bit.
Yes,
he's lying
it
down.
keeps switching back to George as he's getting his acting's getting progressively
when
worse.
He gets properly out of hand, it's like there's a bit in Trading Places where there's loads of guns come into Eddie Murphy's face, but there's a bit where they're all looking over. Yeah, they all look over him at the same time.
Yeah, that scene stop. First of all, his leg starts throbbing and splitting, but his chest that bit's amazing, isn't it?
Well, he's looking down at his chest and it's just going bubbling up.
But it bulges incredibly, but then
it just stops.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, I was going... Oh.
I wanted what's a film with an explosion? I wanted contamination. I want it to be a big explosion.
Well, it would have been a very slow one. It would have been more of a...
I don't think Graydon was willing to pay the extra. He probably
didn't want to get any blood on.
He'd already had to pay for that minute footage from that other film.
Yeah,
he'd run out of budget, hadn't he? Then.
But the next thing you know, it all goes like bubbles up on him, and he goes, oh, dead. Cut to them chucking him overboard.
Yeah, I know. It's this common maritime thing that as soon as somebody's even slightly dead, they could still be just throw him overboard, wrap him in a blanket, throw him overboard.
The first one went overboard.
Yeah,
Wrap him in a blanket, throw him overboard.
It's the old maritime song. Then we have a few bits where they're trying to get the boat started again. They do discover that the cat's been eating food and the food's contaminated and all things like that. It's really this
bit slows it down.
Yes, because I think it's setting the scene that they're stuck on the ocean without any food or drink. There has to be that. So we have some of the spring breakers, Walt. Obviously, George and Albert are gone now.
Well, yeah. So this
R.I.P.
is a bit, so because I've drawn a little picture, as you well know. So there's a bit where they're showing the money.
Oh, George is talking to because
holding him with a gun, isn't he?
Yeah, one of the spring breakers is quite impressed with Walt because he knows him as Wall Street Walt. He's made a lot of money,
and there is a framed photograph that does say money above a picture of Walt.
Yeah, he's got his own picture and he's got what means the most to him. I think the key thing is, you see, with the spring breakers, we've got a jock we've got a guy that's obsessed with money who kind of idolises Walt, and we've got the clever guy, which is biologist. So you've got a bit of everything. The guy that Walt's showing all his money to is really impressed with that. And then
Well, then I've written down, let's get the sex scenes on. So
yeah, so there's a bit of...
Suddenly you're waiting for one sex scene to come along, and two. Literally almost back to back. Oh, baby.
There's some blatantly obvious sexual...
And then the sex scenes are all you see is some woman's bum gets gripped.
The whole thing was as unsexy as it could be.
Yeah.
Again, it just felt like a bit of filler, to be honest, to get to the next bits.
Having said that, the second sex scene was... So that bloke that got shot in the arm from earlier on...
Oh, this is a good set. This is a good scene where they're attempting to... He's telling her that... So he's setting it up because he's been shot in the arm, and he's telling her that his arm's gone...
Yeah, I'm dead. Whenever he goes dead, she picks it up and drops it, which like lifting up and dropping it.
Yeah. So he'd been shot. He's lost the feeling in his arm. He doesn't seem too bothered,
does he? He just goes, I can't feel anything.
Well, I think they're assuming, and I'm trying to think too much.
I didn't know what
this.
the setup was about.
Well, I just thought that they think he's going to get the feeling back eventually. I think that's it. So they start to kiss, and he's... Again, they play on the fact that he's got no feeling in his arm, and then she looks down, and the cat's having a little nibble on his hand.
Yeah, more than a nibble. It's off, and his fingers are gone.
It's been one of his fingers off, but he's just tucked his finger underneath his knuckle. But yeah, he kind of gnawed at his hand, and so this guy. I mean, this whole
screaming at her saying, help me, because obviously he can't move his arm away from the cat that's
they kind of
still carrying on.
And they kind of realise now that if you get bit, you get contaminated. I mean, this whole scene's just fucking awful. He realises that there's nothing left to live for, so he then runs out.
He just suddenly jumps from my hand's being gnawed off, so help me out, and then next thing you know, he's not panicking so much, he sort of strolls out onto the deck and goes, right, I'm going to jump off now. Yeah,
and she somehow gets dragged overboard as well.
She's trying to say, don't do it, and then she gets...
So they jump overboard.
Well, and then he jumps overboard and she somehow goes with him. I don't know, it just cuts to them both falling off.
The other two jocks, Hedgeworth, the biologist, and the other guy, jump in after them and can't find them, so that's another... So now we're left with Walt, the captain lady, the biologist, and the money man. So they're the ones left now. We've lost everything. Oh, and obviously we're left with what the fuck, SD618, who's obviously terrorising them all still.
Now it starts to get good again a little bit.
Then so now we get into the point where Suzanne, so she's the spring breaker who then goes crazy.
Yeah, suddenly going mental.
Yes. She starts saying things along the lines of "we're all gonna die," and her hair gets really ruffled, and she starts having this crazy
look on her face. Not so much makeup anymore.
No, well, she's...
Is she wearing a bikini still or not?
She's wearing like a shirt. It may even be a man's shirt. Signs of mentalist is where
not non-bikini wearing.
Corey, the one that kind of idolises Walt, suggests that they get Walt out and that they can then them two can then go cat hunting.
Did they not say pussy hunting and miss that bit out?
Well, no. I think one of them says almost like this is like a saying. After all, the hunt is still the hunt. Is that a thing?
Yeah, no, I heard that and I thought maybe I misheard it because that's not a saying.
And then left poisoned food to try and catch the cat. But that doesn't work because Corey says the cat or maybe the biologist, I can't remember, says the cat knows the food's poisoned, maybe from smell. I don't know. Again, I'm thinking about it too much. And then Corey finds the cat. He shoots holes in the... Trying to shoot the cat, he inadvertently shoots holes in the boat and then shoots a boiler that blows up in his face and kills him. He's got a very red face.
And it's really gory.
The makeup's quite good for that, I thought. I thought that was pretty good.
It's all burnt and everything. But then the cat's there, and I thought, he's going to crawl over and have a bit of a nosh.
Have a bit of a nibble.
But it doesn't. It probably doesn't like it. It probably likes it raw rather than cooked.
It likes the hunt.
Well, after all, the hunt is the hunt.
Well, exactly. Yeah. The cat manages then, because obviously they've been rationing and they've got all the food locked away, The cat managed to get through the metal door. It managed to bite a hole in the metal door and get
eat
to all the
rest of
food.
So yeah, they all go mental, don't they? Then.
And then poor old Susan, who finds a bit of the food because she's getting hungry by then, eats a bit, and then she dies.
Well, so, she explodes. So her bit goes on for ages.
Is she dying from eating food contaminated by the cat, and that's why her neck starts throbbing? That's not the poison. That's contaminated cat.
I think that's contaminated. Yeah, it must be.
Right.
Because poison doesn't make you explode. From what I know.
No.
But, so she goes, I knew it. Eats it and goes, oh, I'm feeling right. Then sees the cat and goes, oh. And then starts to. So she sees the cat knowing that it's ate some of the bloody food.
Yeah, yes. And to that point, she realises she's going to die. She does die. Her acting's great. She kind of like.
Yeah, at least that blows up because she has a bubble on her neck and that actually pops.
Yes, and then she kind of slides down the wall.
And it goes on for a good 2 minutes.
Well, it seems to slow it down slightly. Well, as in that
goes on for 2 minutes.
Long time.
Goes on for 2 minutes.
Then, because the boat's going to go through stormy weather and potentially sink, I noticed it switched to a model boat.
I thought it was the most realistic.
Yes,
it's absolutely diabolical.
So, because Corey earlier on shot a hole in the boat, it's now sinking. It's starting to fill with water.
It's the biggest hole ever. And
well, the
it
hole
escalates very quickly because I think it's got like 10 minutes left. So he thought, sod it. So he blows himself up. His face is gone. She eats some food. There's a storm out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, it's gone stormy.
And there's a hole in the boat. It's all kicking off. So the 3 that are left, is that
right?
Right?
So Walt goes back to his cabin, which is kind of up to his waist in water, grabs his bags, and who should he...
a bit of Jaws again.
Well, who should he... Yeah, I mean, you keep saying bad Jaws, but I think I would kind of challenge that. Who's there? But SD618, waiting for him. Basically, the cat jumps on Walt and mauls him.
He does look at it for...
It pops out the water in front of him, doesn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's another one of these things where he looks at it for a very long time before doing anything.
Yeah, well, I mean...
And what he does is get attacked.
That is acting.
But it's all underwater, this bit. Actually, again, if it's quite a good shot. There's a bit where he's underwater and the money's going past his face when blood's coming out and that.
Are you impressed with that?
It's blood money, isn't it? Blood money is what I'm saying. It's blood money. But then you do see the cat eating his face.
Now, you see, this is where I would... You think that's what Graydon was trying to achieve? Or
it was in the end, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Blood money.
Anyway, the cat takes Walt down. He takes him down. That's great. I like that. And then really, the other two escape in the lifeboat, and then they discover the Walt's cases. Oh, because the Hedgeworth goes back for Walt, finds Walt's dead, but he steals the cases anyway. They take them on the lifeboat, so then they're adrift in the sea.
Well,
the rain's coming down.
They're not in the sea, are they? Let's be honest. But so these
are we saying that that's not out in the ocean?
It couldn't be more obvious than it is. It's because it keeps pumping down. It's instead of shaking it or bobbing it up and down, it just sort of someone's obviously got a bit of a plank and just leaving it up. Well, no, we're just leaving it up and then dropping it back down.
Look,
and then there's just throwing loads of hose pipe at them.
Tony, have you ever been out on the ocean in a lifeboat? You haven't, so you can't.
I have actually, yeah.
Oh, anyway, so they're in the lifeboat and they're then attacked by the rat cat.
Yeah.
Who they managed to fend off once.
With the case.
And they then realise that the cat's just trying to survive, so they throw the case into the water, and the cat, instead of attacking them, clings onto the case.
What does he say about that? Because this is a bit I
couldn't work out. He says...
Because there's a lot, by the way, in the film, there's lots of bit where on the boat where you can't hear what they're saying. Well, the dialogue
now my
is
friend,
so muffled.
I've got some advice for you there.
Is it subtitles?
Get the subtitles on.
In this case, I didn't bother.
Didn't miss one bad piece of dialogue once, even when the storm was raging. Basically, they realise they realise the cat's trying to survive as much as anything. Right. They throw the case so that the cat clings to the case and not.
And that's one of the best shots ever, and it made I was crying, not because it was just because it was really good. Because it obviously they couldn't be asked to get a puppeteer to put anything in. So they just attached the little cat modelling thing.
Bobbing.
So yeah, but it was like, again, it had its arms up in the air. So it had its arms up on the case, just sort of like going, And it just floated away. He's like, going, see ya.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is all right, isn't he?
But it's not. What happened really was, so it attacks him, and he's got the case. Throw it off, and then he goes. He even says it's not over yet.
No, and it comes back.
It comes
He's
back
coming
again.
back.
It gets him again.
Which was
And then
like
they
the
throw
scene
the
at the
case.
end of Friday the 13th when she jumps out of the water.
Yeah. But even he goes, it's not over yet. And,
I was thinking, oh Christ, tell me that's not true. Anyway, they escape in the end. They get back to the coast. There's a bit with the Coast Guard which I didn't even really pay any attention. The biologist and the captain make it back to shore.
What I've written here, mate, who was it? Who was the main
Coast Guard? Who was it?
Austin Stoker.
Who's he?
Assault Precinct 13.
Oh, right. Oh, okay, that's good.
I mean, he's in it for 1 millisecond. He's the best bit of the film. I mean, to be honest, he's probably the best actor in the entire film.
Hang on. I'm going to go back to George again. Don't diss George Kennedy. Anyway, and
Assault
then
Precinct 13, Austin Stoker's in it. And he's got, he's like, in the credits at the end, he's about the fifth one down, even though he's in it for, 10 seconds right at the end.
Oh, I like
as the Caribbean
Queen.
Yeah.
And then the final shot is the cat washing up on the beach, and then it's suggesting that it's going to...
Well, the case, and the cat's there. But the cat's black. Not even the internal one was black. So this is not even the same cat, is it?
Are you saying that's footage from a different film again?
Well, and also there's another bit. So it's a little kid, obviously not an actor, because... So it's for one, it's not the Ginger Tomcat, or even the internal blobby grey manky one.
God, he's
it's
wet,
a black
isn't
cat.
He's wet. He's been battered on the sea.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he's got tar on him.
Well, maybe that's footage from the fog, the beginning of the fog spliced.
No, because the kid in the fog was quite good. This kid.
I thought you were going to tell me who it was then.
No, it was. He picks up the cat though, and then looks directly at the camera. Yeah, but not in a way that's meant to be on purpose.
And as if to say.
Is this right?
Well,
he
wants direction.
Yeah, generally he's picking up the cat the wrong way as well, so it's like in the stomach and his legs are going either side.
Make it look realistic.
Is it all right?
And then the music cuts in. I like the piano music. It's the same music at the beginning, and that is is it Uninvited or the Uninvited? I don't know.
It's been called a number of things. The Uninvited bollocks.
The Uninvited bollocks.
I mean. No, it's not really mentioned why it's called the Uninvited.
The uninvited guest, the cat.
Rankins.
I liked this. I think
it was a good terrible movie.
It was a good terrible movie, and like I said, apart from a couple of bits where it flagged a bit, I thought it kept me interested all the way through. I really liked it. I thought there could have been a few more explosions. There was good acting, there was just average acting and bad acting.
Yeah.
But George Kennedy was amazing. I enjoyed it. You see, this is the first one we've rated, and I don't want to go in too high.
The trouble is, it rated for a bad film then.
Well, I'd give it 8 fat cat faces out of 10. That's me.
For a bad film.
Yeah. Well,
So,
even if I was rating it for a film, just entertainment, I would still give it 7.5. 7.5. I'm giving it 7.5. Good or bad, I liked it.
Yeah, I'd probably give it about 7 because it's entertainment. We watched a lot of shite films.
Yeah, hundreds.
And there's some that are just tedious.
There's so many films that we talk about years after we've watched them, and they're the ones that I would talk about on this podcast. And then there's ones that I just want to forget that I'm not interested at all. No. This is one that I really enjoyed.
But having said that, would you watch it again?
I
watched it.
I
would watch it like if it was on the cinema and it was like on a bad double bill or something like that. I'd watch it. I mean, I've literally only just watched it, so I'm not in a mad rush.
No, not at all.
And there's a lot of bad films that are boring, as well.
And that's it, I think. I think the pattern a lot of the time is that I'll be probably more generous, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, unless it's a good film, and then you'll probably be less generous.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So
then that's it.
Yeah,
Bye.
If you're interested, look up whatever we're calling this, what we're calling it. This
I
podcast.
think we're calling it horror movies with TNA. We should have probably said that at the beginning.
We can put that in the intro. I'm hoping that could be in the
We'll think of all of this is a work in progress, so maybe the title will change.
This will probably get better and slicker, which might make it worse actually. So, do you put comments or whatever? See how
we don't know what we're doing, as you can tell. Yeah,
if you've got any, also say other films that we
if you want to suggest films, and if you've got any comments, leave them. Don't be too unkind.
Anyway, thanks.
Good.
Thanks
Bye.
for joining. See you next time. Ciao.